we're going to discuss the top 10 offsite SEO strategies to direct traffic to your website on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest news, products, and politics from today's leading industry pros, offering you their technical marketing and growth strategies to give you, the pest management professional, that killer edge. Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. This is Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek. We're discussing all things pest in the pest control world, including online strategy and how to get found on Google and get your website ranked. I am so happy to be here to be discussing this with you, and I've had a wonderful week. I hope you have too. We're going to get into it to discuss off-site SEO. Now, we discussed last week what on-page or on-site SEO was. And this week, we're going to focus it off-site. And I'm going to explain the difference between the two. On-site SEO is what is done directly by you to your website, on your website. You control this directly on your site. Off-site SEO is another strategy that is vitally important if you're going to get ranked by Google. And you're going to get what is known as Google Juice or Google Love. All right, so the idea is to get Google to fall in love with your website so that then Google will share it and serve it up to other people and they can fall in love with it too. All right, so we're going to be talking about off-site SEO. And this is one of those things that 90% of the people that I ever talk to, I would say probably 99%, don't understand what this is, don't know anything about it. The reason is a lot of this stuff isn't really shared with a lot of people. It's shared in bits and pieces. But unless you do some real digging and you spend some time really trying to understand the online marketing world, okay, that we're in. And this is eventually going to be, you know, a requirement for everybody if they want to participate in this type of environment. And that's going to be pretty much, the way that we had to deal with the buggy whip business when cars came around and all of a sudden you couldn't make buggy whips anymore. You had to learn how to make car parts. And you have to change and you have to be willing to evolve with the market that we're involved with. And this is where everything is going. And sooner or later, it'll be just a requirement for basic knowledge of what internet marketing is. And I don't think this is going to go away. This is not going to change. It's going to continue to evolve. Google and search engines like Google will come up in the future, and they will have their own strategy that you will have to understand. But for right now, we really got to get a grasp on this. And what I want to do, my goal for these three podcasts that we have done already, is to make you aware of the things that are available to you, but also make you aware of the pitfalls and what to really avoid. Because when you start getting into this off-site strategy, this is what is known as, there's two types of ways to do it. There's black hat SEO, and then there's white hat SEO. And I'll explain to you in a minute what that is. But it would be the equivalent. And I'm not picking on anybody here in particular, but so that you can understand, of taking an illegal pest control strategy that is not approved, and because it does control and it takes away your problem, that you use it because it's the most simplest way to do it to get the customer off your back. A lot of, when you go online and you start looking at what I'm going to share with you, which is called backlinking, okay? And this is an important strategy. And these are not one-time tactics. These are very important strategies that if you decide you want to get into this environment, that at least you're aware of it. Because, again, you'll get strung along where, okay, we built your website. Well, now we have to do your on-site SEO. Well, that's going to cost. Well, that's going to cost between $700 and $1,500 a month. And then, we then need to get on your offsite or backlinking strategy in order to get more traffic. And what's that going to cost? Well, that's another $500 a month to get that done. And if you don't understand what people are doing, you can get sold on something really cheap that some guy overseas somewhere in Siberia is doing on the web, and he sold it to you very cheap, and it's nothing more than black hat tactics that is going to get your page shut down. And good luck getting your money back. So what we need to make sure is that we understand what we're doing, and most importantly, what it actually takes to get it done, so that you have a realistic view and a realistic expectation of what it's going to take for you to build your website successfully. I did, when I was going to build this one site for my pest control business, which we did it in a whole different way. We did it on WordPress, and we were going to design. My goal was to develop the strategy on long term. How are we going to get ranked, and how are we going to stay ranked to make sure that we don't do anything that penalizes us? And that was my concern. And I did about 6 months worth of studying before we even launched the website. Okay, so this is why I'm bringing all this, because I can save you a lot of strokes off your game if you follow these steps versus trying to go in and doing the website and then deciding, you need an on-site SEO strategy, and then you need an off-site strategy, and then pretty soon you need to hire a person to be there full time to keep all these balls in the air, because if not, it's going to collapse on you. So we need to discuss that, and I'm going to give you a couple of tools and a couple of tips and a couple of tricks, and then you can make a decision, and I'll give you enough information so that you can perform then your own research in doing this. And that way you can just stay on top of this new game called the new media world that we're entering. All right, so let's talk about backlinking. What is backlinking? Okay, remember in the last episode, if you didn't hear it, please listen to the last episode, the one that came on before this one, last week's episode, because we discussed on-page SEO and how links that you perform to another site, depending on the quality of that link, Google will use that information to rank you. Well, to that site that you're linking to, you're creating what is known as a backlink. You're linking back to something they did or something they wrote, and you're referring to it. And what Google is going to say is the quality of your linking out is also as important as the quality of the link coming back to you. Who's linking to you, and is it relevant? Is it even worthwhile looking at? This is all a game of about who are you associated with. Who are you hanging out with? Your parents told us all the time, be careful who you hang out with. In business, we understand that we're pretty much we are the top 5 people we associate with are the ones that influence us the most. And it's the same way online. It's just you're doing it in a technical environment. But understanding relationships, that who you decide to hang around with is going to determine whether they help you or they hurt you on this online strategy. Who are your partners here? And what we're doing is we're looking at the backlink strategy now, linking back to you, okay? And so that you can go ahead and decide how you get quality links back to you. And like I said, there's a whole industry out there that focuses on nothing but selling backlinks. And they'll sell you, 10,000 backlinks for $99. And here's what they're doing. I'm going to show you what they're doing. They're going out to basically new websites that are being generated, and they're going on to their blog, and they're commenting on somebody's blog, taking that IP address, and then creating a master list where then they go out, take your content, and they basically spam it across the web to 10,000 sites that they've managed to get so their foot in the door somehow, usually through a comment on a blog, mostly a comment on a blog. And I got spammed. I was getting about 50 spams a day when I built the site within a couple of days of building it. And what I did is I had to install an app that would block all these people because they were robotic. They would have to prove they were a person. And since they couldn't do that, then they would get blocked off the comments. And then because they were putting in a link to, the latest Nike shoe, which has nothing to do with my blog. Why would I have that on there? So that's what they do with these black hat tactics. They'll generate, 1,000 backlinks back to you, but Google will start going, this has nothing to do with you, and we're not going to rank. As a matter of fact, now we're going to downgrade you because of this. So be careful with that, with those kind of offers that are tempting, because this is a lot of work. And what people will try to do is sell you an easy out that you can get your problem solved very quickly, very easily if you just go with us. And that happens in any field. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at, Google created a system called PR, PageRank. And it's not like public relations. They're high PR sites. So they did a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being a site that's not registered with them and that doesn't appear to have anything going on, to a 10, which is the most highly ranked you can get. I still haven't come across one of those. Most of the sites that I run across are 7, 8s, 6, 7, and 8s, maybe some 9s rated PR sites, but very rarely do I see a 10. And what you're doing is the highest ranking sites are obviously going to be university sites, registered universities, your local state university. They're going to be high ranking. Sites that are government sites are going to be high ranking. Sites that have been around like Amazon are going to be very high ranking sites. So you want to try to get backlinks from these type of sites. The question is, how do you do it? And this PR system is what they use to rank your website. And actually, Google has a little toolbar that if you put it, you can install it on your Chrome app. And if you go to your Chrome app and you go into settings and then you go into privacy, it'll say page rank, and then you can turn on a page rank. And when you bring that page up on your website, you can actually see if that page is a reliable page or not based on their page rank, if they have good content, if Google has given them a good rank. So that's one of the ways that you can see is, am I looking at a company here that's reputable, or am I looking at something that was just created 10 weeks ago and these people really have no idea what they're talking about? So that's one of the things that you can use to try to gauge that. So backlinks, how do you get them? Well, you have to understand there's two types of backlinks. There's do follow links and no follow links. What is a do follow and no follow? What's the difference? The difference is, in a do follow link, you're telling Google, listen, this link back to this site, I want you to track it. And I want you to, when your robots come through, this is a link that I want you to rank because I'm referring this. It's kind of like getting a referral from somebody that says, I want you to quote my name. Tell them Frank sent you the next time you're there, and they'll treat you really nice. That's a do follow. You're telling the search engine, I'm referring this to this person, and I'm recommending that you credit it, give them points for that because I'm referring to them. When do you want to use a do follow? You want to use a do follow when you're genuinely referring somebody, like the way you did it on your page. You said this information that's on this state site is good. This information that's on the EPA is good. Google, I want you to give them points for that information. When do you not want to use a no follow? Well, in the case of if you are using an affiliate program and somebody is paying you for a link, you don't want to do it, because if Google discovers that you are getting paid for that link, they will shut that down. And you never want to, for paid. What Google is trying to do is we want legitimate referrals. We don't want just you to refer it to them because they're paying you. It has to be a legitimate relationship that's there, that their information is that good that you want to share it. So a no follow, you would put it on if you're doing a link back to an affiliate type of program, you don't want Google to follow it. You're telling Google, no, this is just paid advertising. We're linking it to this because they're paying us, and I don't want you to give them points for that because we're being paid for it. Okay, it's paid advertising. Okay, it's what we're doing. And you have to know the difference, and you have to categorize it on your site, and there are codes to put in, and you can look up do follow codes and don't follow codes. Actually, you only need a no follow code. You don't need a do follow code. If you put the link, it's automatically a follow. All right. So that is what backlinking is about. All right. Now, how do you get some? Well, there are legitimate sites that you want to get backlink from. And this is where social media plays a big role in what it is that you're doing. There is a couple of ways. I'm going to give you the top 10. We're going to start discussing the top 10 ways that you can get a link, legitimate link, a do follow link back to your website, and it will help your rankings. The number one way that you can do this is creating a blog. Okay, now what is a blog? The difference between a blog and a page, on a web page, is a web page is static information. Once you put it there, it's always there, and it's just intended to always be there. A blog is more time sensitive. You're putting out information on your blog kind of like a news feed. And you're putting out information that was created a week ago, 10 days ago, and it's been categorized, and you can do it by categories and different things. And a blog is meant more for people that want to continue to read new information. It's kind of like journaling. Every time that you're journaling, you're blogging, you're putting in your information, your knowledge that you're wanting to share with people. And you got to decide whether you want that to be a page or a blog. A web page, in other words, your services page, your about page, it's static. It's always the same. There's nothing new there unless you update it once in a while with some new, I decided I wanted to add this to it. No, a blog is a page that is there, it's active, and the blog is constantly being updated itself with new pages within a blog page. Okay, so it's a post and a page. So that's the kind of the two terms that you got to use. Is it a post that you're doing, a news post, or is it a page that's kind of there? So what you would do is you would create a blog outside of that domain. In other words, if you're abccompany.com, you could go to blogger.com and create a blog, the official blog of ABC Pest Control, where we teach you how to do it yourself. And we teach you all about pests and everything that has to be related with pests. And then you're creating a link with that blog to your website. If that blog becomes popular and people really want to read your stuff, Google says, hey, this is pretty cool. He's got a blog about this, and he's referring it back over here to his site, which is totally separate. And you can get a backlink. You can also get a blog credit for guest blogging for somebody else. If you're a really good writer and you're writing good articles, you might contact somebody else and say, hey, how about if I write on your blog and I can get a referral back for that because I wrote it on your blog, but people will read it because I'm a really good writer and people likes to read my stuff. That is one way to do it. The neat thing about blogger.com is Blogger is owned by Google. So Google is always going to favor their stuff. And if you understand that you can create a blog there and write about it, make referrals, recommend products, do other things that so people can do it themselves. And remember that 80% of people are never going to call you. It's only the 20% that do business with you. Well, why wouldn't you give that 80% that is never going to call you anyway a really good information on how they could do it themselves, and they will remember you when they can't solve it themselves and give you a call. It's kind of the way it works. You know, you do something for me, I'm never going to be your customer, but you're doing something nice for me. At least I can recommend you. I can refer you. I might even I have my own blog, and I will give you back a follow for what you did for me. That's kind of the way it works. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Now, that's one way to do it, through a blog. That's time consuming. It does take a while. I mean, I can write a good blog page maybe in an hour and have it up and running. So, you know, you're doing one a week. You're going to invest maybe an hour to an hour and a half of writing per page with pictures and images and everything and the links and everything that you're doing. You know, you're going to spend a good hour and a half. Now, the other way is social media. Now, understand these are strategies within strategies, and then you implement the tactics. All right. So let's say with social media, how can you get a backlink back to you from social media? Well, one of them is to create a Google Plus page, because guess who owns Google Plus? Google owns it. It's a blog. It's kind of like social media. It's kind of like the same thing you have with Facebook. It's not really, a lot of people aren't using it, and I really don't get it yet, how it actually, I get Facebook. I understand Twitter. I kind of get LinkedIn. Yeah. Pinterest I'm not using. I'm not involved with it. But I have a hard time getting Google Plus yet, and a lot of people do too. But for SEO purposes, it's marvelous, because if you put a blog out on, or you put a page link, or you put something that's of interest, and somebody is logged in to their Google account, guess what? Google is gonna serve it up on their page if they're logged in. And now you have a new chance of getting something back to you that links back to you. So social media is one way of getting it with a Google Plus page, getting a link back. What's another one? Well, videos. Creating videos is big. And you don't need a ton of equipment. You can do a really good video from your iPhone, from your smartphone. You don't need any equipment. You can just get your phone, put it on a little tripod, spend $30 on a tripod for it, and shoot a video, an instructional video on how to kill roaches. Do an instructional video on roach biology. Something that gets your customer local SEO, where you localize, you put, hey, ABC performs pest control in Houston on that video. And, this is how we do it. This is what we do for you. This is the things that you need to look for. Whatever it is, when you put a link in that video in the notes below, Google will backlink it to you and give you credit for it. It's backlinked. So now when you do a Google search, videos are ranked a lot faster than pages and posts will. Google will rank that a lot faster. So videos are a great way to get backlinks and also get somebody to say, hey, I like the video. Let me click the link and find out who these people are. Okay? Images. Images are another way. Remember, Google will rank an image very, very fast. And if you're searching for images about ants or a particular ant, and you have pictures out there that you shot that are yours, then you can put them in places like Flickr.com. And you can put a backlink for that picture back to your site. So now we've got 4 so far, right? So we've got a blog, we've got social media, we've got a video site, we got Flickr. What about PowerPoint presentations? Hey, if you do a PowerPoint presentation that you've created to do for your customers, why don't you put it on a place like slideshare.net, which creates a backlink for you, and people can look through your presentation and say, oh, this is really neat the way he's laid it out. I like this. Remember, this is like the car business, and people used to say in the car business, there's a seat for every butt. And you don't know who likes your stuff, and you don't know who you're doing it for a lot of the time. You don't have one specific really good demographic, whether they like videos or they like pictures or they like reading blogs. There's a seat for every butt out there. And unfortunately, there are places where you can put a seat so somebody can sit in for you. Okay? So that's one of the ways. Now, that's slideshare.net. You can go there. There's a couple of, sharing sites where you can share PowerPoint presentations. One of the most important for local, though, I should have put this one at the top of my list, but I didn't. But I think local directories. If you're going to be doing any type of local marketing, you need to be in every local directory. And there's usually, right now on the web, there's over 50 of them. There's yellowpage.com. There's whitepages.com. There's Yelp, very big. Foursquare is becoming very big. You really, really do need to be on all of these. And you're saying, how long does it take? Well, reality, it takes you about 20 to 30 minutes to set up a profile on each one of these. And if you're doing 50, that's a lot of hours. There's a company out there called Yext. And Yext, if you sign an account, they're like $500 to $600 for a year. But they will synchronize every local directory and get you on it and synchronize, make sure you have the same address, same phone number, same description. You have pictures, videos. They'll share it on all these sites. And if you ever change your phone number and address, you only got to make one change, and they will make all those changes for you almost instantly within like 48 hours. So there's tools available if you want to be on all these directories. Now, that is Yext. It's YEXT.com. They're like $500 a year, but they're really worth it because you figure you're going to put in half an hour to 45 minutes for 40 to 50 of these sites that you really should be on all these local directories, so that when people go on them, people actually go on them and look for specific things, that you will be on there. And you will get a link back for every one of those directories. Now you've got about 50 link backs. Like if you get it on yellowpages.com, YP.com, you will have a link back to that. And that's important because Yellow Pages is a very, very page rank number. They're really up there. So is a company like Yelp. They're really up there. And when people are looking for local, they should be able to find you on local. Okay? So I think probably if you built your website and you're looking to build an on-site presence, the very next thing that I would probably do is get on a social media on local directories. We're going to get into social bookmarking. Social bookmarking is really weird because most people don't know anything about it. But kind of think of it like when you bookmark a page on your Chrome app or whatever app, your Firefox or whatever, and you go ahead and you set up a bookmark for something that you use a lot. I have about 13 bookmarks that I use on a regular basis, and I have those preferred. These social bookmarking sites are places where you can go in and decide to bookmark things on the web that you find interesting that other people might find interesting. Okay? And it's a little weird, but people actually do use it. There's one called Delicious. You can Google Delicious, and they're actually like del.ishus. It's really weird. People get into this. And if you're on there and you're on these types of sites, there's probably about 30 of them that are out there or more of these social bookmarking sites. You can probably, what I would do is I would look at the top 10, and I would probably open an account with the top 10, and then I would go ahead and share information to those sites. And then you get a link back from those sites because people find that stuff interesting to say, oh, well, this guy is into pest control and look at all his links. These links have to be really good because he's referring to them. If I wanted to learn to do my own pest control, these are the links I would use. In other words, you got to put something out to get something back. That's the way it works. One of the other ones is article submission. So there's a place called Easing Articles. That's EZINEARTICLES articles, or just Google article submission sites. There's a bunch of them, and you can submit your article like with a blog, but it's more of an article. And then that gets categorized. It also gets put out on Google. So if somebody's looking, those are high page ranking article submission sites, and Google favors their articles. Some of these you have to pay for to get on there. But if you're writing very good articles about something that's really important and you think it ought to be shared, then you would submit it and you're going to get a link back for that. Then the next thing would be, the last one would be press releases. And press releases there's a bunch of press release sites that actually get them released to major newspapers. So if you're doing a new launch of a new store, you would want to do a press release. And there's a place called prweb.com. And if let's say you're gonna put out a new service that you're gonna be introducing heaters for bed bug service, and you just spend $50,000 for a heater, you want to get all the publicity you can. So you're saying, hey, we're doing non-chemical, bed bug control, and we just got these brand new heaters, and you put out a nice press release, and you might have to pay between $100 to $300 for a press release to get it to all those newspapers. But if it appears just in one paper alone, that's well worth it if it brings in the business. You see, so those are things that you can do that will bring. That's number 9. So let's move on to number 10. And number 10 takes a lot of work, but it's well worth it. Forum posting. What is a forum? Well, a forum is a place that people post a comment or something, and then you can go and comment on that, and it creates kind of like a string of comments that's for solutions that you're bringing to the table. Now, pctonline.com/forum has a forum for pest control businesses, and it's free. You can just go on there, find a topic that you like and that you're an expert on, and comment on it. And then you say, by the way, my name is so-and-so. I'm the owner of so-and-so Pest Control, and our website is located, and this is what I think about this comment, and I think I'm weighing in on it. And you can legitimately get a link back for comment. Now, don't use it to spam it and just put, we do pest control for 15, because they will block you. I mean, you have to do legitimate writing and say, this is how I would solve that problem if I were you, if you were a pest control. And remember, you're sharing information with other PCTs. So this idea that, well, I don't want to share my secrets because, they're my secrets. Look, guys, really, we all go to the same CEU classes. We all read the same state websites. We all read the same thing that's out there. The question is the information you're reading reputable? And would you want to talk about it? But if I talk to an entomologist and I have a conversation with him on the phone and I write something, I'm going to give him credit. And I'm going to say, I had a conversation today on the phone. It was most informative. It's from so-and-so, from the University of so-and-so. And here's a link to his website and all the information he has. I hope you find it useful, guys. With this idea that we have something that nobody else has. No, very few companies actually do. They have a compilation of things that they've turned into a program that they can probably call proprietary. But there's not one thing that we have. So it's the forums is about sharing. It's not about you plugging yourself. And you can't, in any of these type of, if you start just plugging yourself, they'll shut you down because they're saying that's not what it's about. You missed the point. It isn't about endless self-promotion. It's about sharing something that's useful to something else. And I think if you understand what is involved now in doing off-site SEO, search engine optimization, where you're creating buzz and you're outside of your website, outside of your four walls with other people, then you can start getting your website ranked very effectively. And again, a lot of people don't know about it, and this does take a lot of work. You have to put time aside. What I would do, and this is what I did, and I'll tell you, I made some mistakes, that things that I prioritized wrong, and I learned from them, and I move on. If I were going to prioritize and do it all over again, which I will in some other arena, I would build my website. I will build a blog outside of my website. I would do the local directories first. I would probably go into video and pictures. And then I really would put social media somewhere number 5 and all this. If I was writing and doing a lot of writing, I would put the writing places that I could put my writing there. And social media is great, but social media is another strategy. You got to have a strategy for each one of the social media sites because Pinterest isn't the same as Facebook. And you try to post across the same information across those platforms, and it doesn't do well for the purists. If you're trying to reach the purists, the purists in Pinterest, the purists in Facebook, the purists in Twitter, they will understand that what you're doing is just putting out a lot of duplicated information, which is okay if there's certain people that you're trying to reach. Like the people that I'm trying to reach on Facebook aren't really that purist. I mean, they're the typical person having the typical life, and I try to write things that are interesting for them. If I'm targeting pest control people, I'm going to do something that's interesting for them. And yeah, I might share it across a platform that might work. Like a lot of the stuff works across Twitter for me. Okay. But you got to understand, you got to have a separate strategy for each one of these. It isn't that you have just tactics. And you got to look and say, what can I really invest? If I'm going to be on Pinterest, can I really invest an hour a day on Pinterest? Will Pinterest bring me the most customers? Will Facebook bring me the most customers? Will Twitter bring me the most customers? Who is my customer and where do they like to hang out in? I think for me, still the strongest place would be Facebook right now, still Facebook. And I'm looking at Pinterest. But again, I haven't done any work on Pinterest, and I haven't done any analytics, and I haven't done any work to say, yeah, I like it better because of this. You see? So I think Pinterest does take a little bit. Remember, these are single posts going across one screen on a phone. You got to post an awful lot in order to get noticed. On Facebook, you still got to post about 5 times a day to really get noticed with your tribe, with your crowd. One post a day isn't going to do it. 2 posts a day isn't going to do it. So you have to have multiple posts a day. There are a lot of tools that automate a lot of this for you, but you still have to invest the time in learning how to use the tool and learning how to set it up. And once you do, then it kind of runs kind of like on autopilot. And my rule for everything that I do is 80-20. Will 20% of the effort I put in produce 80% of the results? Or do I got to put in 80% of the time to get 20% of the results? It isn't worth it. You see, so I got to look and say, what am I going to invest my time in? And what will bring me the most bang for my buck? I think a website with a blog separately. I think doing videos with YouTube. I think doing good presentations with SlideShare. Putting all my pictures up on Flickr. And definitely the next thing that I would do the next day I set up my website would be local directories. That would be my very next thing. Then, of course, press release. And again, these are all strategies that you can implement when the time calls. You don't implement them all at the same time. You don't do them all at the same time. You kind of work a strategy and say, where do we want to be in the next year to 2? Here was my strategy when I built the new website. I timed it. I wanted it to be up, ranked in Google, be on the number 1 page of Google by the beginning of the summer. Why? Because here, when the rainy season starts, is when everybody goes online based on all the Google Analytics that I did. It's July, August, September, October, and then it goes down. So I got my best chance of doing all my business in the summer. So I wanted my website to be ranked and ready to go by the summer of next year. It took me a year to get it ranked. Now the phone is ringing. But, so I no longer have to be doing the postcards. I no longer have to be doing the door-to-door knocking. The website is now doing all that for me, but it did take me a year of strategizing, doing a lot of trial and error, and figuring out what was working to make it happen so that now we're strategically positioned for this year and for next year, okay? So now that's the way I would do it. Is what's the strategy? YouTube videos gets you a lot of local business because there's a lot of people. And you think that it's only the young people. I have a lot of older people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s giving me a call that they saw my videos, that they saw this, that they saw that. So what you got to be able to then to do, after you're doing the work, you have to be able to measure. You got to be able to see, okay, we did this. What's a reasonable amount of time? Realistically, guys, 6 months to a year, if you're doing the top 3 things that I recommended, if you're doing, you're looking at local directories, you're looking at a blog, and you're looking at videos. If you take those top 3, which is what's producing our business now, and you put those 3 to work immediately, and then you strategize throughout the year what you're going to get done. You're going to do 1 video a month. You're going to do all the directories at one time, get them all done, get it out of the way, and then you start working. And you kind of strategize how you're going to do it. It isn't a matter of we're going to do it all. You're not going to be able to do it all unless you have a staff that you can dedicate to it. You can be on 15 social media sites if you have a social media manager. You can be on 50, your videos. There's ways to get those videos to 50 video sites all over the web very inexpensively. And we'll be talking about, and I'm going to be bringing on the tools and the resources, and we're going to create a page on our website with links to all those resources. You can check them out. And again, if you find that one of those is useful and it saves you a ton of time, I mean, if you have 20 hours a week, you got 30 hours a week to put in, it's a lot different than the guy who only has 10 hours a week. So you got to decide where you want to be. So I think we've covered it, and I think you might be able to get it. Anyway, the page is going to be up on our website, www.pestgeekpodcast.com. You can go there and check out the blog post that we have. We've created a blog post there with different. What I'm doing is I'm publishing studies that I'm doing, and I'll do studies on where I'll look at like bacteria on roaches, and we will put about 3 to 4 good studies that are reliable. University studies that have been long-term studies, and we're publishing different studies so that you can find it all in one place. Make it very easy. You don't have to be hunting all over the web. And this is stuff you can share with your customers. You send them and say, look, let me send you an article about what you're really dealing with these problems. And you can use it as a resource and link back to us as a resource for your business, or you can send your customers direct links. I put the links out there freely so you guys can use them. If you want to be on the program, you want to get your voice, you want to get a question, a comment, you can give us a call, 707-395-7378. And there you can leave a recorded message 24/7. And we will go ahead, and if it's useful for the podcast, we will be more than glad to put it on the air. If you would like to contact me via email, just send me an email, franklin@pestgeekpodcast.com, and I will personally answer that for you. Newsfeed, very, very important newsfeed. If you were wanting to stay up with the latest news, I don't know if you got this news or not a couple of weeks ago. It just came out that the EPA is going to phase out. It's already told every manufacturer they're phasing out Propoxur, which is one of those products that we use for American roach control in the granular bait form. Because it's lower toxicity, it's still a carbamate, but they're getting rid of it. They're phasing it out. And I've tried to get it, and I can no longer get it. You want to stay on top of that information when it does happen so you know what's going on. We got a Twitter feed. You can look it up in Twitter at Pest Geek Podcast. And guys, it's been a pleasure to be here with you today talking about this. And until next week, folks, have a great one. Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.